Happy Thursday, and welcome to Ramblings with Rebecca. I would like to randomly introduce you to the first episode of Ramblings that has been shot while Becca was sitting at an actual desk. It's very exciting and completely random. Anyway, today we are going to talk about authoritative knowledge, which is a concept probably most of you have not heard of before. It's not actually a common dominant trend in talking about epistemology and constructivist thought, but it's one that I learned at undergrad while doing gender studies, and I really enjoy it and think it's quite helpful. So we're going to talk about it today and its applications for the empiricist versus constructivist debate as we're rambling on about epistemologies. So authoritative knowledge, a concept that, as far as I know, was actually first introduced by Brigitte Jordan, an anthropologist of childbirth and midwifery. Jordan uses it to look at how authority and knowledge around the process of childbirth switches during the process, from the midwife to the birthing mother to perhaps the mother-in-law or the birthing mother's mother, back to the midwife, that kind of thing. Throughout the process, in different stages, there's an assumption amongst the group of people who are involved in the birth about who knows best what's happening right now and what should be happening right now. So this authoritative knowledge, this claim to a hierarchical and superior understanding of what's going on, transfers during that. That authoritative knowledge is then also used to talk about the transition from midwifery and home births and women kind of helping each other through births to the very biomedical westernized model of giving birth, when 50s and 60s women taken to the hospital, doped up, strapped up, and male doctors essentially pull the baby out of them. And so there's this big shift in the authority and the knowledge around childbirthing from women to trained male doctors, generally speaking. So that's just the example that I know that it comes from. But the concept itself is this idea of authoritative knowledge, that some ideas and understandings and facts and views of facts come to take precedence in society. It's something that I think is applicable to virtually everywhere, particularly in the empiricist versus constructivist debate, because I see us currently living in a society where science very much has an authoritative knowledge, right? And the scientific method is the way to get at truth, empirical truth, outside external truths that are somehow not part of us, but things that stand alone and apart from humanity, but that humans can start to get at through science. So the fact that a very rigorous statistical test, right, is more likely to be accepted as saying something true about a situation than any one individual's anecdote about something. Or someone saying, I've heard this, and this from my friends, I think this about this situation. Or someone saying, I had a revelation from God last night, and this is what God says about situation X. So science has this authoritative knowledge. With the examples that I just gave, probably a good number of you, particularly those of you from the West or those of you who are scientists, are sitting there going, yes, good, science, correct. And getting back to kind of this tension between the fact that I was raised by scientists, I really like science, I think science has a lot to say about the world, and yes, large amounts of evidence are good things. It's a good idea to make decisions based on rationality and reasoning and these kind of things. But I think it's also important to bear in mind that science has become an authoritative knowledge and is seen as superior. And perhaps because of that labeling, shoddy science or the biases that are within science aren't necessarily talked about as much as they should be. So there's a lot of examples, most of the ones that I know come from gender studies, of the ways that scientists, are biased in the ways that they form experiments. And sometimes those aren't made as explicit as they should be. So virtually all of the knowledge that we construct as humans is bound up within our own selves and our own ways of looking at the world. And we need to somehow figure out how to value the science and the empirical while also acknowledging that we are biased.